Hello, welcome to Winners and Losers on YouTube. It's me, Hank. I'm the guy making the documentary about the Young Turks union busting situation called Tell the Truth, Cenk. I was involved, so I know a lot about this whole story. And today we're going to watch the appearance Cenk had on the Jubilee Surrounded episode. We're not going to go through like a bunch of the different reaction stuff. The beat that I'm covering is the union. And as you've seen probably online, I'm sure you're probably aware, if you look at the description too, I did a long reaction video to the teaser. Cenk was confronted about the union busting by somebody.
You rejected a union at your company and fired somebody for organizing.
Yeah, that is absolutely not true. You could say that if you like.
That is true. Look it up.
Fine. So since you smeared me.
If you want to go to Winners and Losers here on YouTube and look at the last few videos, this one here is the long reaction. That's like an hour. A lot of what's in here is like the stuff Cenk lied to his audience about. And from what I understand, he doesn't tell the truth in this episode here, in this full thing, based on what I've seen and based on kind of what I've heard. So I'm pretty confident we're going to see some of the bullshit that I've already seen. This is the fourth time that he has been asked about it. That's a generous way of putting it. But the first time was he was confronted about it by a caller.
Why is your ex-staff accusing you of being a union buster then?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'll answer all these, even though, like, so this is just random.
Are you a union buster?
No, I'm definitely not a union buster. So.
Well, there's evidence that proves otherwise, though.
What evidence? All right, brother, you've had a nice run. Bye-bye.
The second time was Francesca Fiorentini brought it up in December of 2024. He brought up my name, and he had a very unpleasant reaction to it.
Who were editors, like Hank. I remember Hank, and like the fact that, you know, he helped start the TYT union and now has obviously
nothing.
Okay, but I knew Hank was such a great guy, and Emma and Ben are such. I'm just saying. I'm telling you, these are. But okay, how? I'm afraid, man. Like I'm next. Like
that they didn't really get into much in that one, so that's not really an ask, but it was brought up. You get to see how he responded, and then on the Generational Change podcast, in fact, we'll preview this. Cenk was also asked about it in January of 2024. This is the third time, and he lied to them. He basically doubled down on the smear.
Now, in the benefit of hindsight, I now realize what happened. They got worked up in a good way. They were like, "Oh, we want to be union, etc." And I don't know that anyone actually knew that IATSE was, one of the top folks who were doing grassroots work against us and spending money against my campaign, etc. So maybe some of them knew, but certainly not most of the employees didn't know that, right? So there was this giant miscommunication at that time as to the motivation. And so what I asked for was, hey guys, can you do a vote?
The core lie of Tell the Truth, Cenk, the film that I'm making, is that outsiders started the union in order to harm his run for Congress. He was running for Congress while he did union busting. The workers actually started the union almost 2 years before they came forward, but 18 months before Cenk became a politician, they reached out to IATSE to ask for help. I rejoined the company. Then my working conditions drove us to restart the union drive because it got intimidated into silence or into dormancy. And my initiative and my friends and I started up the union drive again in 2019. Then he surprised everybody by becoming a politician.
You ever feel like the Antelope Valley is getting screwed? Outsiders are America. My father, I'm new to politics. Soon he decided to pave a new path in his life. They take us for granted because outsiders are America. And only you, Valley, and for you, not on our watch.
Which is where this whole story goes from kind of a classic crazy union story to this weird political media drama, which is kind of what this whole film is about. So Cenk even has talked about Hasan Piker, a former coworker of mine. I used to edit some of the shit and knew him way back in 2014. Has talked about how Cenk stole ad sales from him.
You're gonna do Facebook.
Well, that's because your uncle was letting everybody steal your sales deals. Too.
That's true.
His uncle would let him massage a sales deal to the last thing, then someone would swoop it and close it and take the commission.
Oh, yeah.
And his uncle would be like, "Them's the break."
And how Cenk skirted labor regulations.
And I wanted to move to Los Angeles anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And my uncle was like, "Oh, this is an opportunity for me to hire someone and skirt some serious like labor regulations in his family.
And how he needed a union at the Young Turks because he was taken advantage of.
So, but I started working with my uncle, and look, I think it might be a little Turkish of him to do this, but he definitely took advantage of the fact that I was his nephew in terms of, the pay structure that I worked under.
So you definitely needed a union with a relative.
Oh, 100%.
No doubt.
Exactly.
Like, there's a big story here. Journalists, anybody who's watching, there's a lot of evidence. There's stuff. I know people who know things. Come on, someone who can write an article about this. I think TYT deserves a fair shake too. Okay, I'm rambling. One thing I want you to see before, just so you're aware, go to tellthetruthjank.com, click up here on sources, or you can scroll down yourself and it'll push it all the way down here. This is where you can go see the 4 articles that were written about TYT's union busting. You can see TYT union workers themselves putting out statements. This is the public battle. You can tell here, because I'm sure we're going to see Cenk deny that he's a union buster. All of this stuff will show you very clearly that there was a substantial and ferocious union busting fight that happened publicly, and not to mention how much pressure my friends had to deal with internally while they still did their jobs. Their jobs were to make Cenk and Anna look and sound good on camera because they were editors, graphics, and studio techs. And they did their jobs while they were being union busted, while Cenk and Anna were spreading misinformation and smears about them on the outside. That's crazy, man. That's just nuts. So in the sources here, so you can click on all this stuff, see their Action Network petition. The NLRB cases are fascinating. Go dig into those. This is the notice Cenk was forced to put on the wall for violating Section 7 of the NLRA, which is hilarious. Hold on, let's go bigger screen here on the camera there. There you go. Yeah. I love when OBS works. It does a pretty good job. So this is, you don't do this if you're not a union buster. You don't get one of these if you don't. It's all about how workers have a right to organize a union and that management isn't allowed to do coercive anti-union activity. And this is the only punishment they had. 60 days on the wall. And not a single progressive host or journalist at that company did any reporting about this, about their own boss being in violation of Section 7 of the NLRA. I'm plugging the website there too. The NLRB cases reveal that TYT uses union avoidance law firms. You can also read Cenk's anti-union emails he sent to workers before the second election. Pause it, read it. They're fascinating. And of course, there's a heavy dose of victimization where he blames the workers for hurting him as if it was their decision he become a union buster. So yeah, I just, this is just the easiest way to find all this stuff. And then of course I have my Substacks, which have these information here, 2 versions, 1 truth, evidence for my claims about the Young Turks, just so you know that all the statements I make about my employment conditions are backed up by evidence, by paperwork, by internal documents. There's a lot of there. It's very tedious, but I have backed up all these claims because I'm afraid of being sued. It's a big, huge, weird, stressful thing I've been through here. And I had to borrow $250 just to talk to a fucking lawyer for an hour like 3 years ago. And that's like the extent of the legal advice I got. And his advice was find a partner, like as far as like distributing the film to disperse the potential liability. This is a great one. No, I'm definitely not a union buster, says guy who is definitely a union buster. We look at the statements from TYT employees, former employees, Dan and Emma, Dan from the internet, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report. They both talked about Cenk doing a coercive union busting stuff. Emma was, Dan was at the studio. They brought him in for a one-on-one meeting, asked him about union activity.
I hear about the union things.
February 2020.
I was brought into a meeting because I was suspected of organizing or being a part of organizing it. After producing a show, I was called into a meeting by someone higher up in the network, and I was asked about if I had heard about these things.
That's not okay. You're not supposed to do that. And then Emma said that she was contacted during the union busting and kind of, asked to keep it quiet.
I think you can also see it reflected in the way you treat your employees, right? Like with the efforts to bust the union.
Oh my God, the union busting was so gross.
It was. And even at the time, I received a call from somebody high up in the network asking me not to speak publicly about it. I was young. I kind of have regrets about that I should have spoken up a little bit more publicly.
And she actually expresses regret about being coerced, basically. So there is so much evidence for this guy's union busting. You don't just have to believe crazy old Hank here screaming and yelling on his weird little YouTube videos, okay? There's so much evidence. The website has it all in one spot. That's why I wanted to start with that. And you can of course read this story that I wrote here, which is of course way too long and way too wordy and way too overly, because that's me.